Thanks for joining, Greg. Really appreciate you coming on to the Payments Show.
My pleasure.
You look like you're traveling, not in Canada where you're based. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I am in sunny Miami. Speaking
Fantastic.
of thunderstorms, there's a regional payment industry conference called the Southeast Acquirers Association here this week.
Okay. I thought you were going there to cash in your crypto gains like a lot of people have been doing for the last 2 years.
Oh, man. I had 2 full Bitcoins back in, I don't know what it was, 2006 or something like that have been lost.
Oh, no.
So I'm one of them that have a laptop somewhere that has a couple Bitcoins on it that I've just given up searching for.
Well, I'm sure you've got a similar story in the States, but I have read there's a guy in the UK somewhere that had an external hard drive, which he mixed up with another hard drive and he threw it out, but it's got millions of pounds worth of crypto on there. I'm sure you've got similar stories.
Yeah, he's literally digging up a garbage dump to try to find it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you do find it, I'll know when I see you wearing gold chains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things. It's like, if I would have, could have, should have, right?
Absolutely. Everything in hindsight, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Greg. I'm going to start with giving you a quick intro, and then we can get into it.
Sounds great.
So, Greg, you're the co-founder of POPcodes, and POPcodes at a high level offers smart solutions at the point of purchase. So all of us are familiar with those black box payment terminals in a retail outlet. But what your company's solution does, from my understanding, is it transforms those payment terminals into something smart, which merchants can use for things like customer engagement and a whole bunch of other things that we'll get to in a moment. And before I hand over to you, my understanding is that effectively POPcodes is a company and a solution that's aimed at one level higher than the merchant. And
that's our focus. Yeah.
Right. So for anyone listening, maybe not familiar, so your solution is aimed at the payment terminal manufacturers and the payment solution providers, or ISVs. But there are many benefits that come to the customer, the end customer, and the merchant, which we'll get to in a moment. So I'll hand over to you, and maybe you want to fill that out a bit or give a more of a detailed introduction so you can sort of give an overview of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, our focus is really enabling that payment ecosystem and specifically the in-store infrastructure to become a critical component of not just credit and debit payments, but the whole level of engagement from the service provider, the acquirers, the ISOs, the ISVs, to the merchant, and then from the merchant to the consumer. And you kind of liken it to a smartphone these days, right? Those devices are internet connected. They're large, full screen color devices now that have a lot more power and a lot more capability than they're being leveraged for. There's literally tens of millions of them across the globe. And just imagine if all you did was with your smartphone was to make calls or maybe send texts. And that's kind of what started in the smartphone industry, 20 years ago for that, very discrete, intent. But as we've all seen, the value proposition of that connected device extends much, much broader now. And so we help the acquirers and ISOs first. They're the ones that are deploying and they control this infrastructure. These devices are now becoming ubiquitous on consumers or on merchants, counters at checkout, at tables for pay at the table, in lines for busting queues. And as a merchant, I saw the value definitely at my time at Macy's in extending that into more of that customer experience as well. When we first started our company, that was actually our focus, to bring some of those more advanced omni-channel capabilities to the broader market through that smart device. But what we realized fairly quickly was that the service providers, the acquirers and ISOs and VARs, they were struggling just providing their core payment processing services. And so their contribution or their ability to support and partner with us was constrained by the fact that they couldn't effectively sell, service, or support these third-party solutions because of their communication challenges. And so we took our platform and we retooled it to help drive some specific objectives in that space to reduce their amount of pain and suffering when they're deploying this new technology, so that they could then bring our solution and other value-added solutions to market much more quickly.
Right. So if I heard that correctly, just that last bit is quite important. So you're saying that the companies that provide these payment terminals and these types of solutions to merchants wanted to add value rather than just providing a terminal, but they couldn't because it was a pain to do, or
well, yeah,
I think your words you used were the communication was what do you mean, the digital communications or what?
Well, think of a large acquirer ISO with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of merchants. They have direct account relationships with the very biggest merchants, right? The ones that process hundreds of millions or billions of dollars through their infrastructure, but they don't have that same level of engagement and support with that mid-market and lower. And that's quite honestly where they make all their money. The big accounts are certainly important in terms of total transaction volume, but the revenue and especially the profitability of those accounts is much lower in total than the underlying market. And yet that market is one that they have a really a struggle in communicating with. They have an email address for one individual at the organization, yet they have to deploy their devices across multiple locations. They have to have in-store associates get trained and serviced and support them. Those are the end users, the merchant users that are impacted whenever there's an outage or whenever they have to do an upgrade, and they have an extremely difficult time in communicating to them. Really, the only channel they have available right now that's very effective is inbound calling and outbound calling, which, as you can imagine, is extremely expensive and time intensive, right? And so our initial objective is entirely focused on helping reduce that friction and accelerating the communication to those, what we call key holding associates, the people that open the stores each morning, the people that work on a daily basis with that payment infrastructure, and making sure that they're informed and engaged from the start. So starts with that classic unboxing experience, making the setup of the equipment much easier, and then there's an ongoing daily communication both in a push and a pull mode that keep those merchants informed and engaged about the payment infrastructure that these service providers are giving them.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because they'll only get that treatment in the main flagship store perhaps, but there might be 1,000 other branches where nobody talks to anyone.
Exactly. The account setup goes to headquarters. It goes to the corporate office. It goes to the people that are behind the scenes, not on the counter, that are obviously really important in terms of making sure that the funds are transferred on a timely basis and that they're aware of changes at the highest level. But it's the layer underneath that is involved in the day-to-day experience, both for the merchant and for the customer. As you bring new technology and new solutions to the table, like tap to pay and loyalty points redemption or anything like that, it's the front line, those associates at the counter, the managers of the stores that are really essential to the success of those programs. And today, all of that communication falls on the responsibility of the merchant. And so we help accelerate and improve that communication by delivering that content through that same in-store infrastructure that payments are accepted by.
Okay. There are multiple payment terminal manufacturers. Would they not want to develop software themselves to do what you're doing?
Well, first of all, you're right that there's 10 or 15 major terminal manufacturers globally. 5 or so of them have the vast majority of the market share. So 80 to 85, 90% of the market share is within that 5 major manufacturers: the Ingenicos, the Veriphones, the Paxes, those types of devices. They are always building and innovating solutions. They have some technology that allows them to communicate to the device, but it's very much focused on security and software updates and all of the back-end components that are essential to make these devices secure for payments. None of them have the types of capabilities that we offer in terms of communication and delivering content and delivering messaging and delivering, enabling workflows. And so that's a critical gap. And as a service provider, if you buy a solution from any one hardware manufacturer, you're at risk of having, disruption in your communication channel. First of all, you want to have multiple providers. Supply chain issues being what they have been over the last few years. If you're fully homogenized in one type of infrastructure, you end up with a lot of risk. And so you want to have multiple types of devices to service different merchant communities and different geographies, but yet you want to deliver a consistent and seamless experience across all of those devices. And so our platform really focuses on that. The ability to have multiple service providers, multiple hardware providers, multiple fulfillment partners, multiple solution providers, and yet create a consistent and integrated experience for your merchant portfolio, which is really your essential customer.
Yeah, totally understand. I mean, from my experience, the most advanced thing I've seen on a payment terminal is putting your email address for a digital receipt or signing up for their newsletter. That's about it.
Yeah, and yet these things are actually even more powerful than a lot of phones. So they have very high-end processors. They have embedded and great security components. So end-to-end encryption is standardized on all these devices, and it's not a technical constraint in terms of the power of the device. It is really a historical organizational constraint, and how do who builds these solutions and how do they bring them to market? And again, the acquirers and ISOs don't have the resources and don't have the bandwidth to build these types of solutions themselves. The hardware manufacturers might be able to, but that again puts a solution into a silo, which is not great for either merchants or for the service providers. And so our platform is really focused on solving that problem and breaking that logjam so that more value-added solutions can be enabled to create better experiences for the consumer in the end.
Okay. So let's get to the fun bit for the end customer. If POPcodes is running on a terminal, I want to help listeners visualize what you could potentially see. So there's 4 key areas. So engagement, a screen showing something to do with engagement, something like a survey. Education, for example, messaging. There could be upsells. There could be the opportunity for the customer to enroll in something. Yeah. And support. So first, have I got all the points covered there? And please feel free to add to those.
Yeah, so you've covered definitely some of the big ones. And kind of like we were talking about before, the key question is who's the audience, right? Who is the engagement focused on? Right now, we're more focused on the B2B side. So it's the merchant user, that's our target customer, the store associate, the store manager, the business manager, the owner that interacts with that device. And so those types of examples, like I said, it's really a full lifecycle solution. So the very first time they unbox a device, it's that welcome and setup and branded experience to guide them through the enablement and the configuration of that device, like you have with your iPhone or with your Samsung phones today as a consumer. From that point forward, we have what we call power-up campaigns that inform the merchant on a daily basis. When they come in the store, these devices for PCI standards have to be rebooted every night. And so when the store opens in the morning, the first thing they see is a message that, again, is either a simple brand reminder, thanks for being our customer, or if there's some specific operational objective, an upgrade that's coming or something like that, we inform that merchant of that. We also help reduce the inbound call volume. One of our very large clients saw a 70% reduction in their call volume by proactively engaging that merchant and educating them about things that they typically would have had to call in for. Your statement's going to be coming. Here's how to read your statement. Did you know, here's what this common error code means. Here's a video that you can watch that will help your associates know how to do a refund or how to answer a question. Did you know that this device can accept Apple Pay, can accept Google Wallet, those types of things, to engage and inform that merchant first. After merchants have been on board for a few months, you definitely want to survey that merchant to find out how their onboarding experience was. That's a critical factor for retention. A lot of industry analysis has been done. If you don't solve your merchants problems and make it really easy for them for the first 60 to 90 days, it's much less likely that you're going to keep them for the full length of your contract. And so that ongoing quality assessment, merchant satisfaction score process is really critical. And then later on in the life cycle, 90 days and beyond, and again, based on that different merchant category, the type of merchant they are, there's a lot of value-added services that they already have that they can inform and engage that merchant about. So let's say that there's a cash advance offer. You see that their transaction volume is declining. Maybe they you could send them a satisfaction survey, but you could also send them an information. Did you know that we could help you drive traffic to your store with a loyalty program? Did you know that we have marketing services that can help you understand who your customer is and help you do digital marketing and targeting? Did you know that you could drive your online customers to pick up securely in store with a proof of purchase in store? Those types of value adds, again, targeted based on that merchant life stage and the merchant category to inform them about those other value-added services. And then if they're interested, automate and drive the enrollment through workflow-enabled processes, again, right on that device.
Yeah, that was, in my research, the workflows were a big part of the benefits for businesses and owning that digital media channel for service providers. And one thing I wanted to touch on was sales and referral automation. Could you talk about that? Because from a increase in revenue and profits perspective, that's quite important.
Yeah, so whether they're internally developed or third-party developed, informing the broader portfolio, the broader audience of those value-added services, especially the ones that you already have on board, is extremely difficult. And so being able to deliver targeted messages to right into that in-store point of purchase device, not only making them aware of it, but facilitating the enrollment and use of it is really critical. You don't want your merchants online searching for loyalty programs. As soon as they go online and search for a loyalty program or search for a gift card program, they're going to be inundated with offers from your competitors on a regular basis. If you search for help about a device, you're going to get all kinds of competitive offers from other processors. So we give those acquirers and ISOs the ability to message the merchant directly and then guide them through, whether it's on the device itself, through a series of questions and answers and enrollment processes, or connected through QR codes to landing pages online to direct them right to that enrollment screen. If they're just interested but not ready to act, we can also then route via email or via SMS or to an API to a CRM system a lead right into the appropriate party. And again, that's really critical in the merchant services business because a lot of people aren't aware of this. They won't share who their customers are, even to their partners. So if I'm a value-added solution provider, if I come up with the best new application for this smart terminal, I have to figure out who wants to buy it and who's on it, who the people that want to buy, what platform are they on, and are they on a partner that I already have or not. And so it's a really difficult road as a partner to be able to bring these solutions to market. And as a result, less than 5% of the merchants benefit from any value-added solution at all. Most of them, the vast majority, just get the basic credit and debit processing. So whether, again, I'm an internal stakeholder and I've brought a new gift card program into my company, or I want to partner with somebody that has a neat value-added solution, being able to securely and confidentially transfer that customer referral from my device right into their lead gen system with a GDPR compliant opt-in that says, yeah, I'm interested, contact me about this service, is a huge win for both the service provider who generates revenue from these third-party value-added solutions and the value-added solution provider. Connecting that gap is a critical component of our solution that we think is going to bring a lot of value to the industry as a whole, but also obviously to the merchants that need these services to drive customers to their store.
Yep. Yeah, totally. I did read that you got 30,000 merchant payment terminals using your solution. Love for you to expand on that in what are the main sort of types of customers that you have, and how long it took you to get there from founding. I can't remember whether you said or not when you guys were founded, but it'd be nice to see the trajectory.
It's really been, it's almost 10 years now, which is surprising even to myself to say. So we started off, as I mentioned, selling to the merchants directly. And we got lots of merchants very interested in our solution. And then we went upstream to the service provider and said, hey, this brand and some very large, famous brands is very interested in our solution. Can you install this application on your terminal? And they would be like, probably, we don't know, let's figure it out. And it was a very long road and a lot of effort to get the applications installed that we did. And at that time, for promotion tracking and points redemption, we had a few hundred locations that were running our software. We then switched our model, like I said, and focused on solving the acquirers and ISOs problems. And this was back in 2017. Our first deployment was to like 16,000 merchants in 90 days. And it was something very simple, just paper ordering, giving them a code to order paper from their terminal so that they could get that shipped back to them on a regular basis. And that was a big aha moment, as you can imagine, going from the fighting and struggling to get on one device to being automatically deployed on every device that they ship. And that's kind of the mode that we're in now. So we provide a white label version of our software to these acquirers and ISOs. They pre-install it on the devices, either themselves or through their fulfillment partners. And when the merchant first turns on that device, it auto-activates and they get that unboxing experience. And then all the rest of the value gets driven from there. And so we've invested the time and resources to automate. And so, like I said, we can onboard hundreds or thousands of merchants a week and do nothing because it's all automated, all seamless from both the merchant's experience, the service provider's experience, and ours. And then through our content management and workflow engines, continually add value. And I think that's one of the things that really makes us different is our platform is not static. The secure payment device is architected in a very specific way, and it has very stringent requirements on how the applications that run on it. And we've optimized our solution to run in that environment to allow flexibility and extendability without redeploying the app.
Yeah. And in terms of, have you got some sort of customers you can give an example of in terms of a case study or two?
We white label, and because it's a competitive advantage for them, they don't want us to share their names. But one of the top global payment processors in the world, if not the top, is deploying our application on every device that's shipped. And again, it is rapidly laying that foundation for more and more value-added solutions because it's communication-centric. It's focused on messaging. It's very low effort, low risk technically. It doesn't require payment app integration. It doesn't require impact the payment gateway. It has no effect on PCI, and yet it has a big effect on their business.
Yeah. Let's go back to the tech for a bit. It'd be really interesting to know if a partner technology provider has an idea for a piece of functionality or app, if you will. I'm thinking in terms of apps for an app store being installed on your machine. Yeah. It'd be good to understand that process, how that works, and who develops it and how.
Yeah, so the payment devices, a lot of them are now Android based, and so that has established some great standards that make our application extendable across a much wider array of devices. Unlike the phone, somewhat like the phone, maybe a little bit 10 years ago, each implementation is a little unique. There's additional security controls. There's constraints that they'll put on the device. So it's not as clean of a port as it is maybe in the phone world. The screen sizes and resolutions and that kind of stuff are a little bit different. But in the end, we have a fairly common application, then connected up to a very powerful and optimized platform in the cloud to do content management, workflow enablement, and real-time messaging. And that's really the core of our platform from a technology standpoint. It's a cloud app hybrid with business logic, content management services, campaign management services, and messaging services in the cloud, optimized for that wide scale, diverse, real-time nature of the payment ecosystem.
Yep. How do you charge for your solutions? Because it's going to be delivered via somebody else.
Yeah.
Is it per transaction or fixed fee? It'd be kind of interesting to understand your business model.
Yeah, so we actually we don't do it by transaction. We do it by device. So it's much more of a app licensing perspective from that standpoint. And then we layer on content campaign and messaging management services. So we do most of the content creation ourselves. It's a brand new digital media channel, sort of a hybrid between a website and a social media channel, if you will. So we today offer all of those services for our clients. We create the welcome and the unboxing messaging scripts for them. We create the power-up campaigns from them. And then we create a whole hierarchy of self-serve content that allows merchants, any time of day to directly access the support, the frequently asked questions, the guides, and other things that they would need. We charge a licensing and a maintenance fee to acquirers and ISOs that works out to be a couple bucks per device per month. For a very large merchant portfolio that has hundreds of thousand devices, you can imagine we do some pricing
volume deals
for that. But our primary target is those that have 5,000 or more card present merchants and a growing portfolio of devices in field. And in North America alone, there's about 150, 200 of those major providers. Most of them going up through the ecosystem through 5 or 6 top acquirers and super ISOs.
Yeah. I'm thinking of retailers with thousands of terminals. You mentioned earlier you at one point worked for Macy's.
Yeah.
Would I be right in assuming your co-founder, somewhere along the lines, you guys saw an opportunity there and created something, or was it some other story?
Well, I mean, the impetus was, I actually moved from U.S. to Canada after I left Macy's and saw the new experience that Canadian merchants had on their counter, the internet connected device. He had come originally from an oil and gas side and big data analytics. And we were talking big data at an industry event and started talking about how to operationalize that and how to really extend that value to the SMBs and across a broader scale. But it's a solution that could benefit the enterprise merchants as well. At Macy's, we always had that same challenge where we would come up with great ideas from a marketing and loyalty standpoint, and then it would break down at the execution in store. We would do very highly targeted messaging to high value customers, and it would we'd find out that a coupon was left on a counter and the store associate was allowing friends and family to scan that same promotion, and our point of sale system couldn't keep up. And so having that real-time connectivity on a smart device that can facilitate the redemption of promotions, can facilitate points redemption, can validate online or mobile purchases in store, those types of things, really is where we think there's a huge amount of value in the industry. It's also something that can connect multiple merchants, right? Just like a credit card will work the same across multiple merchants, a promotion could be set up to work across multiple merchants. A prepaid purchase, a movie and a dinner, 2 totally separate merchants, 2 very different point of sale systems, but the same payment device on the counter. And so that's kind of the key here is that there is a common infrastructure that can be used to solve many of these problems. And so we think that that's the direction that the industry is going to go. It's great when you have a consumer with a smartphone in their hand, but you can't take the associate's smartphone. You don't want to give all of your associates a smartphone. You still have to have something to accept payments. And so that smart device on the counter can become that connecting point.
Yeah, you don't want to add another load of costs, $600 per sales rep times the US or Canada.
Exactly. And it's going to be, years, if not decades, before every consumer accepts mobile payment. Every consumer has their wallet on their phone. Phones are getting close to the level of performance and stability and availability that are needed for that. But consumers aren't quite there yet. And as long as you have one customer that comes in with a credit card, a physical credit card, you have to have that mechanism to accept it. And so, that's something that we think is going to be around for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the baby boomer generation has the most credit cards, I think, so it'll take a while for us to see the end of those.
Exactly. And all it takes is one time for your battery to run out or for you to break your phone and to be stuck and not have the ability to buy your way out of it. It just makes it something that you won't leave your card behind for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're taking little steps. So now every time my cards are replaced, there's no more embossed numbers on the front. It's just blank and they're on the back. I think slowly they're phasing in different things. But we'll see how that...
the industry is changing in a lot of ways, and again, the challenge still is in communicating that to the store associates. I can't tell you how many times in the U.S. I go into a merchant and tap my phone, and the store associate's shocked that worked. They didn't even know that their device could do that. And I walk up, being in the industry, I look at it and I know right away, oh, that's a global payments device on, this one, I can do this here. Or the opposite, where I look at a device and I think it'll work and it doesn't. And that surprises me as well, so I get it at both sides.
Yeah. A few steps away from QR codes universally, right?
Yeah, well, QR codes is another thing. I'll admit, I thought 15 years ago they were just ridiculous, right? It was very difficult. We did massive tests at Macy's. Usage was very low, and we would hear as much complaints about how do I load this software? What do I have to do? How does this work? I'm frustrated. All that kind of thing. And now they're ubiquitous, almost to the point of maybe have gone too far. I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful QR codes can be. And when you have a QR code printed on a piece of paper, on a countertop, that QR code could be easily manipulated and replaced, and could do something that's very different than what you want it to do without you or the merchant knowing, right? And so, QR codes is another technology that needs to be optimized, needs to be digitized. The presentment of a QR code on a digital device, a secure digital device, can be very powerful for very good things. A QR code on a counter that nobody could tell if you changed it, right? Nobody's able to pick up a few bits that are changed that put you on a totally different website than you had intended to be.
Yeah, and it's a lot simpler than putting a plastic reader in an ATM machine for fraud. Yeah. It's even simpler. Yeah. You just need some sticky tape.
Exactly. Yeah, very low tech, but very, very high risk.
I always like to end on questions about the future, but before I do you have anything important that you wanted to get across that I might have totally missed about your solution?
Well, I think, again, Dave, I hit on it a little bit, but the fact that communication needs and business needs and objectives change, and that for lots of good reasons, the payment terminal is about as locked down as you can get. It's very difficult to get applications deployed to those devices. And once they're deployed, there's a general resistance and a pretty significant lead time to get them upgraded. And so what we did with our application was to ensure that ability to change, the ability to quickly respond to delivering new information and presenting new options was inherently architected in our solution. So the same application can look very different from merchant to merchant because the content connected behind it, the menu options, the messages that get displayed, the information that can be printed out on a receipt can change. And so that's, that we think are, one of the key, to success of our solution. And the secret sauce is that same application can meet many needs and can mature and progress over time. And it's, really critical for the industry to start the communication and engagement now. And then as we learn about this new digital media channel and how we can engage both merchants and customers through that device that's on the counter, continually progress and experiment and expand and to bring those new experiences.
Yeah, excellent. Which nicely leads us on to the future, talking about new experiences. It would be great to understand what you're introducing, if you can talk about it, in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. One interesting thing I learned the other week, actually, just through shopping. So I'm sure you've heard of Marks and Spencer's, a big clothes retailer here in the UK. Absolutely. I took some T-shirts back. I bought a whole bunch, but I took a couple back because they didn't quite fit right. But I had cut the tags off, 2 of them. I hadn't worn them. And I had the receipt. I just took it back. But this time round was different. She was really looking to find the exact codes for those T-shirts. And I said, why can't you just scan a code from another one? She said, oh, there's a new system now. Every item has a unique barcode. And that made sense because when I brought when I bought those T-shirts, I bought some shoes with it myself. I used the self-service, and I had to scan the left shoe and the right shoe as well. But it didn't click back then a few days earlier. And I was thinking, wow, that would be quite a challenge to implement that system. Not technically, it's quite easy, but in terms of dealing with the factories and making sure each item's labeled, that end is quite challenging. So I don't know whether you knew about that kind of solution and if it's being rolled out in the States and combining that with the future as well.
Well, I'm not surprised, especially at a higher end store like Marks and Spencer's. Fraud and counterfeit goods and return fraud, even friendly return fraud has been a big issue. I think that as a whole, the industry realizes that managing things by a single SKU across sizes and styles and all that type of thing doesn't give the buyers, it doesn't give the fulfillment supply chain people, it doesn't give the inventory management people enough detail. And so, lowering the grain of detail on the data and tracking is certainly helpful. The challenges that retail deals with still about managing online inventory versus in-store inventory, product size and style information and all that is definitely fixable when you start to get a much lower level of detail. RFID enabled tags is something that the industry has been looking at for a really long time. But I think it all kind of ties down to the fact that as a consumer, you want to have a high confidence of your ability to complete a transaction, whether it's online or in store. And that means that the information about the product, about the size, about the style, about how many units are where has to be maintained at a much lower level of detail. And as you start to look at the future, what's possible, I think that there's been a ton of innovation online that still hasn't made it down to the stores for full omni-channel capability. Affiliate sales. Can I buy something at one location that's actually fulfilled by another location? Can I shop online and pick up in store? I can do that on my own brand site, but if I go to I'm near the beach now. If I go to a store that talks, or an online environment that talks about boating, can I buy a boating product and then pick it up at a marina nearby? Right? On the online world, affiliate sales is really easy. On the online to in-store world, it's not. And so we're looking at enabling those types of capabilities. Enabling, again, we talked a little bit earlier about a dinner and a movie concept, right? Being able to purchase multiple products. The marketplace experience on store, through Amazon and other providers, I can shop at things that they fulfill. I can shop for things that their partners fulfill, and I can have that one checkout experience. Extending that into store, again, totally makes sense, right? Why can't I purchase an outfit and the dinner and the movie as a package and then go to different physical locations with a secure proof of purchase to pick up or experience that product or service? Loyalty points is another common example. Lots of websites allow you to redeem loyalty points when you're on the website. Very few places, only the largest merchants allow you to redeem those loyalty points in store. So if I'm a member of a points program, why can't I use that at any location that I shop? Why can't I convert my points there? Promotions, again, same thing. I can enter a promo code on almost any e-com site. If I'm a manufacturer of goods or services, I create that promo code and I say, use it at any of these online retailers. In the in-store environment, that doesn't work. You can't enter a promo code on any checkout experience, almost any checkout experience that I've seen over the last 10 years. And yet that in-store device, that payment device, is an ideal platform for redeeming promotions, even if it's a very targeted promotion, maybe linked to my phone number that works across, or maybe something that can be used 10 times but at 3 or 4 different locations. The payment ecosystem is an ideal platform for that verification and conversion of that promotion into the value that the customer expects.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And it comes back to what you said earlier. Certain retailers have got family and friends using coupons that they shouldn't have had, etc. And if every terminal's got an LCD touchscreen, even if it's not enabled as such a waste of opportunity.
Yeah, it's a constraint for both the consumer and the merchant. If I come up with the the first 100 customers that come into my 10 locations to redeem this promotion. Easy online, right? First 100 visitors, set the rule. After that, it gives you some other kind of information. Extremely difficult to do today in store. And so higher value promotions aren't distributed because there's a fear of them going viral. Those types of programs that would drive the traffic that those brick and mortar merchants are dying for aren't executed because they're operationalizing them is extremely difficult. And if you can create that experience, whether it's the manufacturer, the CPG that's creating that promotion, or the merchant themselves, and have it be seamless in the in-store environment where the store associate is excited about it as you are, because they're the ones that can give you the reward. They're not the ones that have to tell you no. The device tells you no. The device says yes. Then that's something we think is going to open the doors for some pretty exciting and engaging experiences for merchants and their customers, but also some incredibly powerful data for the advertisers themselves as well. Something that they don't have access to through any brick and mortar ecosystems today.
Yeah, that got me thinking. You've got these coupon aggregators like Honey, and now it's built into the Microsoft Edge browser. If it recognizes a coupon code, it can enter it. Businesses that do have physical stores could flip that on its head and make it more effective to shop in store. Absolutely.
And obviously with COVID there was an accelerant of the e-com transactions. But I think as we've seen, when the stores open back up and as consumers get back out into the world, they want to have those experiences online and in store. They want it to be seamless. And if I'm choosing to go to my neighborhood convenience store and Coke has a promotion, I should be able to use that promotion there. And the convenience store would love to be able to do that for you today. They just can't participate in those programs. It's just very, very difficult. If they can say, on the terminal, yeah, I'd like to participate in it. I sell Coke. Yeah, I'd like to participate in this program. And it be on, just, by them pushing a button saying yes, and the merchant, experience is all handled, and the customer comes up and says, oh, I see, you have Coke. Do you accept this promotion? They're like, enter in your promo code, right? It just works. And we think that that's, again, a significant expansion of the benefit of the rails that have been laid for payments. And it gives the payment processors a long-term stake in this game that they're really struggling to keep.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits to your solution. Is it quite a straightforward sell when you approach, first of all, technology providers as well as the terminal manufacturers? I mean, to me, it seems a bit of a no-brainer.
The terminal manufacturers are really our partners. They're not the ones buying our product. It's their customers, right? So we share the common customer. Ingenico or PAX or those guys, they sell their devices to the acquirers and ISOs, and we give them the ability to bundle our software onto it. I will definitely say that we've narrowed our scope of focus to try to keep the decision making process moving forward, and not to open up the whole long-term value proposition, to keep things a little bit more simple and straightforward, because there are immediate wins, right? And so if you can focus on the immediate wins and the quick value propositions, reducing your deployment costs, reducing your training and support costs, improving merchant satisfaction, those sell the solution by itself. And then we can talk about that roadmap of adding more value, of bringing in new revenue, of creating an ad network, of doing all the rest of those things that a few innovators in each company get really quickly, but there's a lot of fear and uncertainty about the effort and complexity that we can help them work through and understand that it's not that complicated. Once you have the rails, what you put in the boxcar can change. It doesn't have to be a credit or debit transaction. It can be information. It can be data. It can be surveys. It can be QR codes. It can be a lot of different things. And this smart terminal infrastructure has been a breakthrough in being able to enable it.
Well, that's a great cliffhanger to kind of end it there. I wanted to take this moment to inform anyone listening, if you want to get in touch with POPcodes, your website is pop, as in pop music, POPcodes.com. And on Twitter, you guys are at POPcodes. Anything else you wanted to mention, Gregg, about getting in touch and engaging?
We look forward to talking to anyone in the industry that has ideas. We have built a modern API-enabled platform, so it's white labelable. It is very flexible and extendable. We'd love to hear questions and ideas. And can you do this? And could it do that? And 9 times out of 10, we've been able to find some pretty effective, pretty rapidly deployable solutions to our clients' needs there. So throw them our way, and we'll pop back with you very quickly.
Great stuff. Thank you. And
right.
Let's end it on something fun. I'm always keen to know what people are reading, watching, or listening to. Doesn't have to be business related. I'm watching a BBC show at the moment, In the Line of Duty, about police corruption. It's a pretty good drama, which I must say, if anyone hasn't seen it. How about yourself?
Well, I spend a decent amount of time online, as you can imagine. Kind of timely. I'm a fairly big Reddit user, but it is shut down right now because they have disconnected third-party solutions.
Oh yeah, I read about this week, yeah.
Yeah, so I deleted my account. I'll probably set it back up again, but I wanted to send a message. It has, you have to create open ecosystems. It's important to protect your ecosystem for sure, but there's a lot of ways to do it than just saying no. Having secure integrations with partners is essential. So that's kind of been, one of my main channels. I also, just kind of on the fun side, on YouTube, I'm watching the adventures of Itchy Boots. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
It's a woman who does epic cross-country motorcycle trips. She rode her motorcycle from the tip of Argentina up to Alaska last year, and now she's riding from Morocco down to South America. And it's a lot of really interesting experiences as a woman, on a dirt bike, riding through countries that literally, haven't seen the type of equipment and environment that she's bringing, the experiences that she has, and getting her motorcycle through this terrain and meeting the people along the way. No help, just her. It's been pretty an exciting experience. So I love those adventure stories, and when people take on great odds and great challenges and work their way through it.
That's a good recommendation, because I did enjoy watching the Motorcycle Diaries movie a long time ago. So I'll definitely check that out. Yeah. Enjoy it. And I'll check out your show as well. Thanks so much. Thanks, Gregg. Really appreciate your time. And all the best in future to you and your team at POPcodes.
Thanks very much, Sad. I appreciate it.
Thanks.